Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Hilda Werschkul.
Yes.
Hilda, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Heather Markel, we'll do a call out to Heather.
Right.
Thought that we should get together, and the reason she thought that is because Hilda has been doing what I love doing, using visual images to do some training and some workshops and even teaching, and she calls herself the art trainer.
Yes.
Which I don't think that means that she's going to teach you how to do a Picasso, but
right. I have had somebody ask me that before. How they should interpret that. So.
Well, when they come and ask you, can you paint my bathroom? Then you know
Right.
you need a more distinct title. But I love the art trainer. I think that is fantastic. And as you know, Points of View is based on visual images, and Hilda has a book that's coming out, or is it out?
It will be available on the market as of August 1st, 2017.
Oh my gosh! Okay. So, yes, at this airing, it's out. Hallelujah! Called Experiences of Art. And tell us a little bit about what you do, and then you can tell us a little bit what's in the book.
Okay, so I developed this training and consulting business, the Art Trainer, in order to help people with everyday and work-related issues that they confront. So basically what I do is use works of art as a portal for self-discovery. So in these workshops, what I do is put up a work of art and ask people to answer questions for me that are like the springboard between art and everyday life. And so the conversations just sort of are unending, depending on the group of people that come to the workshops, and everyone brings some different life experience.
What do you think? Because I've noticed that with the cards. It's like that, for some reason, visual images just break down resistance, and people start talking and revealing things. What do you think makes that happen?
Oh, exactly. Like, I think when you show somebody a work of art and ask them to reflect on their own experiences, it sort of circumvents communication barriers. And
I don't know why, but it does, trust me.
Right. And people are able to think more. It sort of loosens up your mental thinking. And so people are able to tap into their emotions and their experiences and really just take off.
You know what? I think you may have hit it, because normally, as you'll see with the Points of View cards, and I brought the big ones today so you can actually see, there's a picture and then there's a caption, and then this one just happens to be should be. But if you start with the caption or the words, then your mind goes in one direction. It's what does should mean, what does be mean, what does that mean? But with a picture, it gets to go in a whole different direction. Do you think that's what it is?
Yes, I do. And because of my art history training, I've always started with the image itself. Rather than starting with theory or history, I have an empirical basis for all of my work as an art historian, which is really just about exploring form and expression.
So unlike me, you know what you're talking about.
Right,
I love it.
Exactly. And so really it all really just begins with the image.
Amazing, just amazing. And I noticed that you've used like Starry Night, which is one of my favorite for the background. Do people with your training, do people need to be familiar with the art? Do they need the history?
That's a very good question. I do a little bit of art historical explanation. I'll explain what Impressionism is or what Surrealism is to give them a definition. But then I ask questions that really allow them to reflect on their everyday experiences. So, and just sort of take the gist of the concept of this period or style into self-reflection.
Now, I know this kind of had, with your current business and your future plans for that business, I know this was kind of an evolution. How did we get from where you were to where we are now and where you're going?
Yes, this was a very long journey.
A journey. We like that word,
yes,
journey.
Yes, we like journey. We have that in common.
Good. Yes, we do. We love journey.
So I would say this goes back about 10 years now. When I started out teaching after I got my PhD, and I got involved in online learning. And the reason why I did it was that I decided that I'd like to try something new and unconventional to see how that could broaden my teaching skills.
How
and
courageous
bring
of you.
more.
Really?
Yes. And so I was asked, I was a sole volunteer.
Oh.
Nobody else wanted to do it.
All right, let her
So
do it.
to teach a 2-semester survey course about art and design from prehistory to contemporary day times.
Wow.
And what I had to do for what they call lecturettes is rewrite each chapter of the textbook using my own ideas and my own words. And so I decided the best way to go about it was to choose a theme for each of the chapters and to just kind of to give each chapter a body and a context. And so the next step after that was on the discussion board sessions for these students, which is like you have a question and then a thread of answers. It's kind of like from each student, they can respond to the question or they can chat with each other.
Oh, okay.
So what I did was ask experiential questions, and I asked them to give me a creative, unique, or personal insight about a work of art of their choice, using the critical knowledge that I taught them related to this theme. And so I ended up getting these insights that were so creative and just so unique and very, very fresh. And I realized that an art historian really can't do this because we're sort of trained to have the right answer about works of art, you know, but a person with no background in art history other than what you're teaching them is going to bring a lot of their own personal experiences into viewing an art. And these responses were so fruitful and just so wonderful that I decided I had to do something with them. And so after conversations with literary agents, I decided to write this book and write a narrative around my students' quotes.
Wow.
So I selected 5 periods from the history of art from prehistory to the 20th century to explore these themes and based on experiential learning. So in the interim, while I was working on this book, I began to explore other career opportunities for myself. And because of my involvement with instructional design, I took a course in instructional design at NYU and decided to go for the entire certificate in training consulting.
Okay.
So that was like the next step. And then I got involved with trainers through the Association for Talent Development here, their local chapter, going to meetings and talking with a career coach. And I started to attend networking meetings with HR and talent development professionals. And just after many conversations, every 2 weeks going back in, giving them an update, they sort of helped me out, come up with this idea, telling me that I could actually bring these two things together. So it happened, I don't know who was the cause for this or exactly how it happened, but I know it was the result of just talking to a lot of people. And so that was sort of how my business idea blossomed.
And tell us, what is your business idea?
Okay, so anyway, the art trainer provides training workshops and one-on-one management consulting, as well as services to hire artists to be meeting sketchers for organizations to...
What's a meeting sketcher?
A meeting sketcher
Sounds cool.
yes, is an artist who goes to a meeting and draws sketches that are like the platform for brainstorming. And in order, like what you do here, as a way to circumvent communication barriers and open up new ideas.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
So it's very much the same thing. So my workshops are about any theme, really. I have workshops on emotional intelligence, teamwork, leadership, stress resilience, any topic, communication or sales training, any topic, and I just chose these works of art from the whole vast history of art and applied these sort of experiential questions with targeted learning outcomes, but also giving the possibility that depending on what happens in the group dynamic, there's room for numerous other learning outcomes to happen as well.
I love what you said, because you said as an art historian, you're supposed to have the right answers.
Right.
But welcome to my world, the coach. There are no right answers, there are no right questions. It's open for everything.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so exciting.
Exactly.
Right?
I think also something I discovered when I wrote my book was that rather than explaining away the meaning of art so that it's reductive, what I wanted to do was create the open work with new and endless meanings. And that is something that I'm able to do in my business.
I don't know anyone else who's doing it, do you?
I have not been able to find
One of a
anyone
kind.
else. I think I'm
it.
a total original. I've done my
love
research.
it.
I mean, I have looked into arts-based training initiatives. I've done some reading up on that, and I think mostly what people have done have used theater or ensemble music to train employees about collaboration and teamwork and improvisation. So I have seen that, but I haven't seen anything with art
Now,
history.
I've done, and I'm sure there are some workshops out there with points of view, also the cards and stuff, for leadership development and team management and all of that. But I don't know anyone who's doing it with the classic arts and opening all that up to more interpretation. And I love that this book is full of quotes from the people that you've been teaching.
Oh yeah, it's so wonderful.
I'm sure they love it too, don't they?
Oh, they were so also wonderful about it. They were so enthusiastic. I had maybe out of 100 students, I contacted maybe one or two who were just too shy to post their quotes. For some reason or another, they didn't want to, but everybody else was very excited about it. So I have a huge group of students who are all eager to get a copy of the book on their hands.
I'll bet. So on a bookshelf near you soon, hopefully.
It's a book that could be used, it could be sold on the trade market for the layman to read, or it's even a book that a professor could use as supplementary reading for their courses.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
Now, do you train trainers? I mean, is that also a possibility?
Yeah, that is actually a possibility. I have actually thought to myself that at one point, if I start to offer my business services across the nation, what I'll end up doing is training other art history people with art history degrees to conduct my workshops. I could actually
see
that
this
as
a subsection of an art history major. I could just see it using.
It's another. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
I'm so excited.
We're both excited. Okay.
It's another career option.
Exactly.
And today, now people who go into higher degree programs in the humanities are having to seek out other career options for themselves because there are fewer and fewer full-time tenure track positions out there.
Right.
And so we're all having to be very innovative and think outside the box, finding ways to use our liberal arts background.
And you mentioned the magic buzzwords now, emotional intelligence. There are so many different ways to get that going, and it's become so important. And even companies and schools that all must. I remember when MBA was the hot degree to get, and that must have been maybe, I'll say 15 years ago. And they were churning out MBA degrees, and then suddenly businesses were realizing they know a lot about business. They don't know how to deal with people. They don't know that interaction part. So they had to go back and add something like this to the course to say, you know what, this is good that you know how to make profits, but you also have to deal with people.
Right.
And that's this whole other aspect. It's great that you can go to a museum and go, see that coloring there?
Right.
But what else can you do with that? And that's what makes what you're doing so exciting.
Yes, I mean, one of the reasons why I'd like to work with people in positions of management is because their interpersonal skills are so important.
Yes.
Knowing how to deal with people. And I have often felt that my job as a professor is really more about managing people management than it is leadership. I think in the regard that I stand in front of my students and sort of am at the top of the pyramid, I'm a leader, but really I'm a manager, knowing how to work with people, help them grow, and just interact with them productively and constructively. And so that's why I'd like to go into this, and that's why the emotional intelligence.
I think you're in it.
Yes.
I think it's too late to turn back.
There's no way I'm going to turn back.
I don't think you can turn back now.
Too many years have gone by.
No, it's full steam ahead. I love it. Well, what Hilda has agreed to do is we didn't have all the big cards, but to pick one of these cards and show me, we're going to do experiential. Show me what you would do with an image, not a classic image, but one of our card images. So feel free. I told you I like to be surprised, so go for it.
So what we're doing here is the same, but different. And it's the same because we're working with images, but photographs and paintings or sculptures are different kinds of representations. And so the kinds of questions that you'll ask for a photograph are going to be more literal and about what you see, rather than how it's been depicted or how it conveys an idea.
So you mean the artist's message and his way of conveying it is more part of the portrait or the painting.
Right.
And this is like, what do I see personally? Yeah,
right.
That's exactly how points of view works. It's like, what do you see? How does it, what? And you can use the captions too, but it's like.
And so as in my work as an art historian, it's very important to just begin building a vocabulary for an image. Just think of other nouns and adjectives. And so I think that's really the place to start with an image. And so I like very much this one right here of a dog catching a ball. I am an animal lover.
Okay.
And animals are wonderful. They can bring out the best in us.
Absolutely.
And they can teach us so much. And when I look at that dog,
I'm trying to see how we can. I'll look at the screen. How you can see it and I can see it. Yes.
I am just filled with joy. I mean, what do you think of that dog?
I think it's so funny. This is not one of my favorite cards. I mean, I love the fact that underneath the word is success, and I can see where he's all lined up for the ball.
For the catch.
Hopefully, he will make it. But what I see are teeth and slobber.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's the first thing
that.
I see. It's like. Not necessarily wonderful hygiene on the teeth, but I mean, he looks familiar. He looks like he's a friendly guy, but and he's into what he's doing. But it's not my favorite. And it's funny, as a child, cartoons I didn't like messy cartoons. I like neat cartoons. I don't like that messy stuff. And this to me is a little messy.
Okay.
But I'm not going to hold it against him. I like him.
Okay.
I like him.
Well, in fact, in semiotics, there are theories of photography. And one of the things that semiotics teaches us is that there can be areas in a photograph that immediately attract our attention because they seem to state the bottom line. And I think that big throat, that wet tongue, and those teeth are really the bottom line.
Yeah. Now, what do you see first? Do you see the ball and a catch almost, or?
I do see a catch almost. You know, when I look at that, I think to myself, I have no doubt in my mind that dog is going to get that ball in the mouth. You just don't doubt it.
Okay, no, he's definitely going for it.
So, I mean, obviously practice. You did practice this at one point, you know, and do this for the first time, but this looks like a dog who's got this down packed. So, yeah.
Well, what it opens up for me is that success is not always nice and neat. Sometimes you have to, right? And it's like, I'm thinking now, it's like, because always we tell everybody, you're allowed to change cards, but really explore why you don't like it. And it's because this is messy. I don't like the mess. But it's like, I think the message to me is that sometimes you have to get a little messy if you want to succeed. Like you got to step out there and let your hair go in the wind and go, oh my God, I'm scared to death. But
he might need to go
sweat
some nights
little.
without sleep or showering. You know.
Really nasty stuff. But it's interesting because and it's almost there. Success, I think to me, success would be all tied up in a little bow with the ball's in his mouth and he's happy as can be. Here it is. It's like, okay, success again, is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
And I love that because that's my motto. So wow, that's amazing. What are there any other questions you'd ask?
Well, the other thing that I look at in that photograph, other than this wide open mouth
Yes.
with that big throat and that wet tongue, is the speeding ball. There's motion in this and
yes.
speed. So
Yeah.
what do you make of that?
Well, let's see.
Do you see that?
Preparation. I do see that now that you mention it. Yes. Now that you mention it. So what do I see with the speeding ball? I see that. I think you and I were talking about a philosophy about. We both are agreeing that our careers are evolving, and in the beginning you just plant seeds and you hope, and then suddenly, one day it was like, oh my God, what is going on? It's like, okay, success can come fast, but only if you prepared for it. So
right.
You're right. So it can come, but it might surprise you. It's like I've been doing this for so long, and then suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted.
There's a famous quote. I think it goes, "Chance favors the prepared mind."
Oh, I love that. Yes.
That really works with
yeah,
that. That
so
dog
the
is prepared.
motion, he's prepared, he's right, he's under that, he's going for it, he really is. And so I think that's where I would make sense of the word, and it's like, yes, it can come very quickly, but you have to be there. You have
right.
to.
You have
and
to be there.
The quote here on the front of the Points of View book is, "Opportunity dances with those already on the dance floor."
Oh yeah.
By Jackson Brown, and it's like, that's cool. So you gotta be out there playing ball in order to catch the ball, or simply said, you gotta be in it to win it. You know,
just sit there and wait.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Well, I'm impressed.
Does this
already.
make you think about this photograph a little bit differently now?
It does. It's like yes, I think it does. It's like, okay. It is messy. There's some aspects that I don't like, but that sort of epitomizes where I've been and where I'm going. I'm sure it's not going to be smooth sailing even now. So yeah, it does make me look at like it's very realistic.
Yes,
as opposed
that
to
is
yucky.
very real. It's a very realistic.
Right,
photograph.
I would use the term realistic versus yucky. Yucky, that was the one I was using. Not that. Yucky. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I love that one. So
yeah, I like the concept of success, and now I kind of I do like the card better now. You made me like the card better. Does that happen when you're does a current thing that doesn't move someone after they examine it, suddenly they get moved by it?
Oh yes. With the more you have to say about a work of art, and the more it touches upon your own experiences, the longer lasting the impact of the work of art will be if it has that kind of connection with you, and it grows. And if it's entirely intellectual, we tend to forget.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if you have some kind of experience or emotion to remember something by, it grows in you.
Yeah. How could people take this, besides taking the Points of View cards, how could people, what are they going to find in here? Are they going to find how to go to a museum and do their own sort of experiential technique? Or do they need you? I know they need you.
So, I think what I like so much about this book is that I was helping my students think for themselves independently, and not clinging to the facts that I was teaching them, thinking that they had the right meaning for a work of art.
So they were kind of in charge. I mean, you presented it and you let them be in charge.
Yeah, I just gave them.
What a great way to teach.
The
Why don't we do that?
Right, the foundation.
Yeah.
And let them, through their own involvement, take charge of the learning course and go wherever they wanted with it. And that's also what I'm doing with my workshops, is that I'm letting people explore their lives, their work experiences through works of art, to open up new meanings and to continue exploring our potential and tapping into our own abilities.
I know you mentioned something about health and wellness and stress reduction and things like that. How would art help that? I mean, the fact that it can calm you down a little, maybe.
Right.
Pictures of oceans, like, okay,
So,
I'm chilled.
yes, I have a very popular workshop at the JCC on stress resilience.
That's the Jewish Community Center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, at the Manhattan location.
You will find it on her website, yes, at the bottom of the page.
And for people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer or who are survivors of breast cancer. And so these are people who are coming in real need and have actual life experiences that are drawing them into my workshop.
Yeah.
And so I have this workshop where I teach them about nutrition. I teach them about the health benefits of exercise. I teach them about sleep. I'm not teaching, I'm helping them discover coping mechanisms through these things. And sleep. And I also just handling ambiguity. And I use a Monet painting for that one. And many people feel relaxed when they look at an Impressionist painting. The pastel colors, the soft brushstrokes, they sort of...
You don't usually see Gothic towers and dark clouds and things like that. Yeah, it's all kind of light and sort of airy.
Yeah, and so an Impressionist painting, because it's not realistic, teaches us how to cope with things by staying on the surface, not looking into things too deeply, not jumping ahead of ourselves, not trying to see a clearly defined picture of the future, but just staying in the moment, which is what Impressionism is all about. It's about capturing a moment in time and relaxing and just handling the uncertainty of things.
You know, you gave me that's the philosophy of coaching, being in the now, being in the present, which is the hardest thing in the world to be, but also just relaxing and taking it as it comes and softening the edges a little, you know, and I love that. I'm going to have to explore how maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll just change my logo, which I really don't have anyway. So make it a little softer and a little less edgy. We have like 30 seconds left.
That's it.
I do believe it. I know. So I'm going to show this book one more time.
Yes, thank you.
It's Experiences of Art, and as you can see, Hilda is dedicated to making art an experience, and I think she's done a great job. I have to tell you, look at this. If you can see, it's variated in different colors, each chapter. Everything is exquisite.
Full
the paper
page,
is superb.
Color illustrations.
It is just beautiful, just beautiful. So I'm going to thank you, Hilda, for being on the coaching game, and hope that you'll come back and let us know what else you're doing with
I'd
with art.
be glad to do that.
Thank
you
you
so much.